So most of us have heard the term like getting edgy, or we know the importance and the power of being able to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. But in my experience, in my personal experience, I didn't really know what that meant or how to do that in a healthy way. Like, what's the difference between being comfortable with discomfort and having a completely dysregulated nervous system? Because I've done both. And in this video, I want to very quickly, in probably 10 minutes or less, just kind of talk about those two things and how to start getting edgy without dysregulating your nervous system and how important that is for an enjoyable life and business. So if that sounds interesting to you, then just keep watching. So I think most of you already know this, but just to kind of quickly touch on like why is it important to be comfortable being uncomfortable? And that's because there's lots of reasons. I could probably write a whole blog post on this, but a couple things that come to mind are number one, getting more comfortable with things that are uncomfortable will help you have a more flexible nervous system over time. So when I talk about being edgy, I'm saying like we have a window of tolerance, right? So this is my like window of tolerance to things that are uncomfortable or stressors. And when we talk about getting edgy, we're talking about bumping up against that window of tolerance. But we don't want to go past that because then we can have a dysregulated nervous system or even like what might feel like a trauma response. And you can have I have trauma from my business. You can have trauma from things that aren't, violence, car accidents, dentist appointments, etc. So when we talk about getting edgy, we want to push close to that window of tolerance without going outside of it. And I'm going to talk about this video in Am I? Yes. So let me actually give you an example. Well, part of why I'm talking about this is because it's coming up for a lot of clients and for myself. So it happened to me in a specific situation and then came for clients. And so now I feel like I want to talk about it so that more people can hear about this. But part of what this is active for me today is that in the online education space, specifically in coaching, there has been a lot of toxic culture over the last forever, but especially it was noticeable to me in 2020 because that's when I went full time in my business. And there's this thing that is taught in a lot of coaching circles and investing circles where you invest bigger to make more money, or you invest at a level that's uncomfortable for you because it will help you level up. And this is true. And it also works until it doesn't. So this is true, and some coaches and educators have almost used it to gaslight people into becoming financially unsafe. Okay. So I'm talking about this today in the context of lots of different things, but this is why it's active for me today. And just thinking about the online educational industry and how there are segments of it that are like pushing people into invest past a point of safety. So how do you know when you're investing and it's edgy versus investing and it's outside of your comfort zone? And I'm not going to fully answer that question today, but I want to talk about what does it look like to be edgy in a safe way so you can start having a more flexible nervous system. So I have a new somatic coach, and somatic, the word soma refers to the body. I have a whole blog post on what is somatic coaching. I'm also a somatic coach and a business coach. And this new somatic coach that I have, we had a call where even with a lot of my somatic coaches, we eventually end up having like action items and lessons and kind of talking about goals and things like that. Whereas this somatic coach is like really forcing me to just stay in my body, which is uncomfortable. And one of the things that came up on that call was I was feeling a certain emotion and I noticed that there was pain coming up in my legs, which is not uncommon for me. I have restless leg syndrome, so my legs hurt a lot. And when they hurt, I just take ibuprofen. Or I might do some stretching or exercise, but I've had it for so long. I'm just used to like, let me take a pill and the pain will go away. And she asked me to just sit with the pain, sit with the feeling, and sit with it. And then um, we resourced it with a stronger sensation that was positive, and we were able to balance that pain. But it was the first time I ever sat with the pain. I've never just sat with the pain before. I've felt the pain, like a buzzing in the back of my brain, like an annoying scratching sound in the back of my brain. Like I've had the pain and I've had it for a long period of time, but it was I just let it stay in the background and try to ignore it ignore the pain and see if I can just go without taking medicine. I've never sat with the pain and held space for the pain. And I've been practicing this more since this session, and I'm on my third day in a row without taking any ibuprofen, which is I've never done before. And so I don't know exactly why that's working. Like, I don't know, like, why that's working. I just know the pain is lessening, and I notice it often goes away on its own when I hold space for it and resource it. I'm not opposed to taking ibuprofen again, but this is my experience. So after having this experience, I had a coaching call with a client who she had a month. This month is her first month. She had overflow last month, but this month she has $4,000 of overflow, which is significantly more than she's ever experienced, I think, ever. And so with that $4,000 of overflow, she wants to know, how can I invest it? Like, maybe outsource some things. So I asked her, if we're going to outsource some things, well, are you at capacity? How much capacity do you have? Because I know she, like me, part of what I have healed from and am healing from is when I have overflow, because it's uncomfortable for me, I sometimes will find a place to put that money so I don't have it. So I might make an extra payment towards debt or pay towards taxes, which are definitely things you should do, or invest in a team member or buy something new or whatever. So rather than pay myself or sit with that overflow, I find somewhere for the money to be because I'm not super comfortable having an excessive amount of overflow. It doesn't feel safe in my body yet. I know the same is true for her. And so for her, I said, if you're not overwhelmed with tasks right now, why don't we age that money? Why don't you sit with that money, be with that money, and hold space for the discomfort? Because if you don't hold space for the discomfort, you're just always going to feel uncomfortable having the overflow. So if you sit with the discomfort and just get curious on, what does this feel like? Is there an emotion that comes up? When I feel the emotion, is there a physical sensation that comes up? And then asking myself, what do I need? What does this need? Right? Then the feeling of discomfort over time will start to lessen. Then we'll start feeling safe with bigger and bigger amounts of money. But if we're just constantly gaslighting ourselves with affirmations that don't feel true, then you'll never get more comfortable with money. This also happened to another client of mine today, where she's been really busy. And one of the things her and I first started working on when we first started working together was she was underworked, overworked and underpaid, and she's overwhelmed, working, 60 hours a week, not hanging out with her kids. And that was a huge priority for us, was let's get your income up a little bit, stabilize it, and then work less. And we did that. It was one of the first things we do. And she gave me a testimonial on how she can get off work every day and hang out with her kids. But while she's been increasing her income, she went through a period where she's getting busier and busier. And the way that she reacts to getting busier and busier, the way that she reacted to getting busier and busier was just to just plow through. And what would be helpful in the future is, instead of plowing through, slowing down and sitting with the discomfort of like, oh, I'm feeling like I'm underwater. Like, let me just sit with this feeling. Because there's so much information and wisdom when we sit with the uncomfortable feelings. We don't have like a resolution, whereas with the client who has overflow, we kind of like have a plan of action. This other client, we like don't quite know the total plan of action. We don't know what the discomfort is about yet. And that will arise. Just like with my legs, maybe something will arise where I'll have a solution. Like, oh, maybe the leg pain is related to X. That would be interesting if that comes up. But it's so important for us to do this because it makes us more resilient as people and business owners. And it will help you to just feel better, right? If we can learn to sit with discomfort and hold space for it, right? What will help you to become, there's lots of things that will help you to become more resilient, but one of them is to be able to hold space for discomfort. And doesn't mean you have to sit with the discomfort forever. My willingness to sit with my leg pain doesn't mean that I'll never take ibuprofen. It's just me getting curious around, like, can I just let this be? Can I hold space for this? And then what I found is that when I hold space for it, I'm finding that I don't need ibuprofen as often as I've gotten used to taking it. So it's just about getting curious. My client who has the financial overflow, it doesn't mean she can't spend any of that money ever. It just means, like, let's sit with it and let it be here and see what arises. See if we can get more comfortable having more money. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. I do have coaching spots available. So in the link, you'll see I have my strategy session page linked, and you can book a call and we can hang out together for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I'll ask you a million questions and see if think I can help you. Whether I think I can or not, I'll give you some like a plan of action. And this is whether it relates to you making more money in your business or whether it relates to more of this like nervous system stuff. It can be either of those things. But we'll talk about it on the call. And then if I think I can help you, I'll make an offer and then we'll go from there or not. But I hope this is helpful either way, and I will see you guys on the next video. Okay, bye.